This video isn't about bad people. It's about a pattern, a quiet one, the kind that doesn't announce itself, but still shapes outcomes. You've likely encountered it before, not as a concept, but as a feeling, a sense that something important was left unsaid, that clarity was deferred, that decisions were happening somewhere else. Uncomfortable clarity. Silence is a decision. When nothing is said, when questions go unanswered, when feedback disappears, the system doesn't stop moving. Silence doesn't pause outcomes. It selects them. In many workplaces, silence is treated as neutral, passive, accidental. Structurally, it's none of those things. Silence preserves ambiguity. Ambiguity preserves flexibility. And flexibility, inside systems, is a form of power. When nothing is committed to language, nothing can be challenged. A decision that isn't documented can't be referenced. A direction that isn't stated can't be questioned. And responsibility that isn't named can always be reassigned. This is why silence often appears right before accountability would be required. Not because people are careless, but because the structure rewards it. When clarity is absent, responsibility tends to move downward. The people closest to the work are left to interpret, guess, and absorb risk. Over time, individuals begin to adapt. They ask fewer questions. They soften their language. They learn which topics stall conversations and which ones end them. This adaptation often feels personal, like a failure to communicate clearly enough, like a misunderstanding, like a misstep. But it isn't. It's structural. The system is teaching people what happens when clarity enters the room. Silence is not always avoidance. Sometimes it's protection. Sometimes it's strategy. Sometimes it's simply the safest option for preserving existing arrangements. The problem isn't that silence exists. The problem is that it's rarely named. When silence goes unnamed, people internalize confusion. They question their perception. They doubt what they noticed. They assume the issue is tone, timing, or delivery. But confusion isn't a personality flaw. It's often the byproduct of withheld clarity. Naming this pattern doesn't fix it. It doesn't make systems suddenly transparent. It doesn't force decisions to appear. But it does something important. It stops you from carrying confusion as self-doubt. Once you can name the pattern, silence becomes data. Ambiguity becomes information. And clarity, when it does arrive, becomes easier to recognize. This isn't about confrontation, or escalation, or forcing answers. It's about understanding what's actually happening. Because once you can see the pattern, it stops owning you. And that footing, that quiet clarity, is often enough to change how you move.